All right, welcome back to Start Your Day. It's Friday, so you know what that means. It's time for another edition of Mic Check, where we discuss relevant topics that concern black males in our community. Joining me today is former pro football player and licensed therapist Jay Barnett. As always, the other fellas will be joining us very shortly. But Jay, it's going to be me and you. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it, man. Let's talk about this, man. It's a big story this week. Brian Flores, of course, dropping that bombshell. He's suing 3 teams, including his former team, the Dolphins, for racial discrimination. My man is alleging he was bribed to tank games and that the Giants had already hired their coach before his interview, calling it a sham. And Jay, as we know, he's got receipts that says it backs him up, even though the Giants saying that Dayball didn't even interview before those text messages came out. I think this is a game changer, Jay. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to be the ultimate outcome?
Oh, Mike, this is most definitely a game changer, man. The more you really think about it in depth, right, this may be the Colin Kaepernick of coaching, right? We know what Colin Kaepernick did and how it changed the game, right? And then it cost him career. But then again, I think he made something happen that sort of ignited not only just through the game of football, but also around the nation. And so he began to bring awareness to the social injustice, to, what we were experiencing out here in the real world. And now Coach Flores is bringing awareness to the social injustice and the racial discrimination that is happening in the game of football. And here's the thing, and here's the part that I like about what he said. He said for the game that he loved, he may not ever coach again. So he understands, right, the severity of what he's doing and what it may cost him. But if this changes the game moving forward for black coaches to provide opportunities, because let's be honest, Dan Rooney shifted the game, which putting in the placing the Rooney rule. But at the same time, how effective has this rule been when it comes to hiring adequate and deserving black coaches, man? So I'm proud of Brian Flores stepping out. And sometimes, Mike, this has to happen. Someone has to step out, to make a difference. And when you're the first to step out, you're the first to get hit. And so the hit that he may take, he may not ever coach again in the game of football, but I think his legacy will be etched, in the game of football, hasn't changed, the coaching process when it comes to black coaches.
Jay, I totally agree with what you're talking about right now because of him stepping out and the fact that he's 40 years old. Is a hot coaching prospect, should not have been fired by the Miami Dolphins. Only one black head coach in the NFL right now, and that's Mike Tomlin. He's one of the most tenured coaches in the NFL. And we're talking about the Rooney Rule not working. But I also got to give him credit for not just doing that, but like you said, maybe even sacrificing his NFL coaching career, because of right now, when you think about how the Giants are fighting back, when you think about how the Denver Broncos and what John Elway said, when you think about the NFL statement that came out yesterday, you kind of know that this man will never get another opportunity coaching in the NFL once again. So his bravery should be the thing that should be most commended right now, because he sacrificed his career for the betterment good of the National Football League and more diversity when it comes to coaching hires.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, when you think about sacrifice, right, it's going to cost you something. It may cost you a little, it may cost you a lot. But in this case, it may cost him just an opportunity. And of course, I'm sure the college ranks will welcome him in high school. I mean, he will be able to coach again. But I look at it from the perspective that let's look at the respect that he's going to have. And Brian Flores is respected by so many players across the league. I've talked to a lot of former players, and I've talked to some current players that they truly respect him, man, for what he's doing. And here's the thing, right? He is doing something that takes so much courage that so many guys want to do, but they're afraid to do. I mean, and you look at, Huey, right? That he's coming out now saying that he was paid to take games. But you look at the integrity that he has and the respect that he's going to be revered for around the league. And when you think about the NFL, man, 75% black players, and there's only one black head coach, and there has to come a point where there's a representation and there's relatability. You have Byron Leftwich, all right? I mean, who was a phenomenal play caller for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why isn't he the front runner some of these head coaching jobs. They had almost 9 vacancies, and the 3 vacancies that they have left, nobody really wants to go to Texas, right? No, and who wants to go to the Saints? They don't have a quarterback. And then again, you have the Dolphins, a position open, man. So it's like when they do give the black coach an opportunity, it's almost asinine, man. There's no way that a guy can come into a losing program and you give him 2 seasons to turn around. But these other coaches, white coaches, let's be honest, they have more than enough time and more than enough rope, right, to continue to coach, man. So something has to change.
And Jay, that's part of it. Let's bring in right now Anthony Amy, who's our BNC, obviously our sports director. Part of what Flores is talking about is not just getting an opportunity, but having an opportunity to stick around a little bit longer than your, as your white counterparts have been able to do as well, and getting that second job in the National Football League. Guys like Todd Bowles, who deserve that second job, who's defense coordinator down in Tampa. Anthony, but Jay just brought up a good point. Here we are, man. 9 openings. There should be like 6 hires already because the Vikings are about to hire their coach. Jacksonville seems like they're about to hire Doug Peterson. 6 white head coaches, 3 openings so far, no black head coaches. 2 of those coaches have been hired or reportedly hired since this lawsuit came out. So does it appear that the NFL or even these football teams, these owners, even care about what's going on right now?
No, Mike and Jay, it certainly doesn't seem like that at all. And you mentioned Jay's great points. I want to add something to it. So just think about this for a second. The last 2 teams that won the Super Bowl, Tampa Bay and Kansas City the year before, both had black offensive coordinators. Both had black offensive coordinators who called the plays for their quarterbacks, for future Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and both of them might get shut out. So think about that for a second. Meanwhile, Kevin O'Connell is considered to be the front runner in Minnesota. Kevin O'Connell is 36 years old. He's had 1 year as the offensive play caller in 2019 for a terrible Washington team. He then went to the LA Rams, doesn't call the plays, even though he is the offensive coordinator, but he's the front runner for the Minnesota Vikings job. But then you have Leftwich and Eric Bieniemy, who again, helped their teams win the last 2 Super Bowls. They might get shut out. Byron Leftwich got shut out. I want to bring up something else. Miracle workers. So you guys talked about the tenure of some of these coaches. Jim Caldwell worked a miracle in Motown. First set of back-to-back winning seasons for the Lions since the mid-90s when he was there. He was fired after a 9-7 season. You also had, of course, Brian Flores, whom you guys mentioned a moment ago, led the Dolphins to their first back-to-back winning seasons since 2002-03, and he's out of the door after a winning season.
Yeah.
Since 2018, 3 black head coaching hires. Since 2018, 2 of the 3 were fired after 1 year. Steve Wilkes in Arizona in 2018, David Culley this season. Both of them had horrible rosters. And in the case of Arizona, the next year they drafted Kyler Murray. Cliff Kingsbury has had time to build it. Zach Taylor for the Cincinnati Bengals led them to the Super Bowl, of course, this year. Good for him. But his first season, 2-14. His second season, 4-12. They drafted the number 1 overall pick, Joe Burrow, a year ago, and here he is. So you can even stretch this and consider the fact that these black coaches don't get opportunities, and they also don't get the quarterbacks. They don't get the opportunity to coach great quarterbacks.
Right.
So again,
to develop.
So again, just to tie up to wrap up this point, 3 black head coaches since 2018. 2 of them had one-and-done years with horrible rosters. The third one, Brian Flores, horrible roster, overachieved, and fired after a winning record.
And it seemed like Culley, who waited so long to get a head coaching job in the International Football League, was just a placeholder for the Houston Texans. They never really wanted to hire him in the first place, and it seemed like he was hired after a lot of other NFL teams had gotten a lot of criticism. And once again, like you said, it's a shame that Eric Bieniemy does not have a head coaching job after the last 3 or 4 seasons that he's been the offensive coordinator down there in Kansas City. He is on the interview for the New Orleans Saints job. And Byron Leftwich, I want to talk about that as well, because this man was a front runner for the Jacksonville job. And yeah, this is something that might be a little sensitive for a lot of people around here right now. But at the same time, Byron Leftwich, who was a franchise quarterback in Jacksonville, who was the play caller for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a Super Bowl run last year and had the great Tom Brady, he does not get the job down there as well. So there's a lot to talk about. But one thing I want to hit on before I go to break. Jay-Z was brought in a couple of years ago to bring about social change, right? Help out with the Super Bowl. He was trending yesterday, Jay, because there seems to have not been a lot of change since then. Halftime shows have been phenomenal, but the social change has not been there, and he's getting a little criticism for it. Is that fair to him in about 30 seconds?
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I think it's completely fair. I mean, if you think about the position that he's held and you think about the rooms that he's been able to sit in with Roger Goodell and other NFL placeholders, I think, man, you have to ask, what are we doing, right? It's like the relationship where you keep dating them, but there's no end goal. What are we doing, brother? And so I think the criticism, I mean, I think is warranted because, again, if the connection and the relationship that you were building was to enhance our contribution and beyond entertainment, again, it goes back to, are we only just good for entertainment, but also being able to place us in position to make social changes as well. So, yes, I think the criticism is warranted, man.
Yeah, he said we're beyond kneeling. We're not beyond anything right now when it comes to the National Football League because it doesn't seem like we've made any progress. And as a matter of fact, it seems like we might be going backwards.